All right, I'm so excited for this video. We're talking about Alex's birth, and it'll kind of be two videos. One showing the happy, good parts, and then one kind of going over like the emotional state of how I was and like afterwards and everything. So she was born on April 6th, 2021 at 12:55 a.m. So right in the beginning of the day. I have a friend who, her birthday is April 6th and she really wanted her to be born on her birthday, so I thought that was really fun. Another little tidbit of fun is I was born on Joseph Smith's birthday, which is December 23rd. And Alex was born on the day the church was organized, which was April 6th, which is also Christ's birthday. So I think that's so cool. Little like connection between the two of us. So April 5th, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. So on journal conference weekend, my due date was the 2nd. So it was really hopeful I would go, but my doctor was also out of town, so I didn't want to like, I didn't want to have it happen while she was gone because I really wanted her there. So on the 3rd, my friend slash sister Hannah took me to the emergency room because I was having a pretty bad cramping, and it was pretty consistent, but I mean, they monitored me and I had like one contraction while I was there, so very minimal. At my doctor's appointment on Monday, they checked me and I think I was 2 centimeters and like 90% effaced, something like that. So at that appointment, my fundal height was measuring, I think it was at 38 weeks, the last appointment, so the week before, and then that day it was like 36 or 37, so it had gone down. So my doctor was really worried about my placenta. So she did an ultrasound to check fluids to make sure she was okay, but because of the small measurements and not like really low fluids, but low fluids, she decided to have me induced, and I was also over by, at that point, it was the 5th, so 3 days. I was 3 days over. So my doctor was like, okay, I'm gonna call labor and delivery and we'll see when they can get you in. So she called and they said, be there in an hour. So I think my appointment was at noon. Yeah, my appointment was at noon. She told me, go get food, go get your stuff, come back at 1 o'clock. So I did. I went to Subway, not too far from the hospital, and so I ordered, I don't even know, like my brain was just like not thinking, because you're not technically supposed to have deli meat when you're pregnant just because of the risk of foodborne illness. So I went to Subway. I did get my sandwich heated, so I heard that makes a little bit of a difference, but I got like a turkey sub, I think, something, it doesn't really matter. But that was my last meal before she was born. I was going to go to my sister's house where I was staying and then go back to the hospital and get food, but I just didn't have enough time, so my sister ended up bringing this stuff to the hospital for me, just my bags that I packed. So she actually pulled up the same time as my I'm gonna just call him my ex-husband, we were still married at the time, but yeah, she pulled up at the exact same time, and so he was able to bring the stuff in as he came in, which he got there like literally 2 minutes after I arrived. Like I was still checking and I wasn't even in the room yet, and I was like, why are you here so early? He was like, well, you said the baby was coming, so I came. And I was like, okay, whatever. So he had went and got McDonald's and then came back and I was in the room. So they checked me in, put me in the room, and then at 2 o'clock, so it was 1 o'clock when I got there, at 2 o'clock they started me on Pitocin. So it was kind of funny, the doctor, she was, it kind of had similar hair to me, redhead, but not like a full-blown redhead, and she gave me an IV in the left arm, and they had to take a few blood samples just to make sure everything was okay, and the blood, like, it stopped flowing out. The IV was still fine. I think they put it in my hand, or like, I think it was actually right here on my arm, but so they gave me the IV, it didn't work, and so she had to give me a second one, and she was like, well, this might come in handy because you might hemorrhage, like redheads have a tendency to hemorrhage. That was pretty funny, and it was also kind of neat because she herself was going through a divorce at the time, and so we were able to talk about that a little bit, and she kind of felt really bad for me that I was delivering a baby to like a marriage that wasn't intact anymore, but that was how it was meant to be. I really believe that. So I was at 2 o'clock. I don't know where it went. I had a note on my phone prior to this phone that I had the doctors, the nurses, like tell me when everything happened, like the exact time. And I misplaced that. I don't know if I saved it in my phone or if I wrote it down somewhere. I hope I did, because I really want that information. So I'll try and remember, but it may not be fully like intact memory. This was almost a year ago, so yeah. So 2 o'clock they gave me Pitocin. I don't know, they didn't have me on too much. They ended up setting up the wireless contraction monitor, which was really nice. I was able to get up, move around, do whatever. So a few hours went by, nothing was really happening. I was dilating. I think I was at a 4-ish. Don't quote me on that. When they came and broke my water. I wasn't really progressing that much, so my doctor came in and broke my water. I had requested to get in the birthing tub. I had requested to be in a room that had a tub. So Hannah came and sat in there with me, and I genuinely wonder if this is the reason. So this is what happened. I was in the tub and Alex's heart rate just tanked. Like out of the blue, just like bottomed. Like I think it went down to like 95 beats a minute, which is really low for a baby. So the nurses come in and they're like freaking out. So this is what I mean. I farted while in the tub and my water had already broken. And so part of me wonders if like the pushing of farting, and then I would assume like it sucked water back up, like maybe that affected her heart rate. I have no idea. That's just my guess, because there was no other reason for it to happen besides maybe me being relaxed. I don't know, or the position I was laying in. It could have been, you know, she could have laid on her cord. I'm not sure. Anywho, so the nurses are like, you need to get out, like right now. Get out, get out, get out. And so I was like, wait, what, why? And they were like, well, her heart rate, like we can't read her heartbeat. So they run me into the bed. They lay me down, like my doctor's back, and so they try and monitor her with me, like rolling on different sides just with the stomach monitor, but they weren't getting a very strong heartbeat. So they were able to get me like in the position. I was on my left side, kind of like fetal position, best to describe it. Just hugging a pillow because I was in so much pain. After they broke my water, next level pain. Like I was completely fine prior to that. Like I really wasn't contracting that hard. But as soon as they broke my water, holy crap, it was so painful. So they broke my water, got in the tub. I had to get out of the tub. They put me in bed. Because the monitor on the stomach doesn't measure the actual strength of the contraction, it just measures like how long they are and how far apart they are. They ended up putting inside my uterus what's called an IPC. They put it inside and they just like taped it to my thigh. It was a really strange feeling. They put that in. I was just stuck in bed. I couldn't move because that was where they measured her heart rate best. I couldn't roll onto the other side. I was just stuck in that position. And so I was like legitimately crying in pain because I couldn't move. And so I ended up asking for an epidural. So they called in the epidural. The doctor was awesome. It was a male. They said, hey, you can only have one person in the room just because the equipment they have to bring in, the tables, just to limit the people in the space. So I chose to have Hannah there with me, and my ex-husband left the room. They put the table in front of me, had me face the wall, and then we put a pillow on there. And then Hannah was right there with me, like talking me through contractions and, you know, just being a good support person. She was amazing. I had the best epidural. The best. Yeah, I didn't hurt going in. I had none of the weird like tingling sensations, tastes, like none of it. It just, you know, went right in. The worst part really is the numbing shot that they give you prior to the insertion of the needle. Like that was the worst part. So we put it in. I don't remember how long it took to kick in, but I was able to lay flat on my back, recline. I like got on my phone, talked to some friends while I just waited to progress. So after that, I wish I could say how long it was, but I really don't remember. Probably like 10 or 11, they came in, checked me, and I was like an 8 or 9. They're like, okay, well, like, we're just waiting, like, just let us know if you feel the need to push or anything. I didn't really know what to expect. Like, I feel like I was completely unprepared for labor. Like, it was the worst pain I'd ever experienced, and a whole different kind of pain that I'd ever experienced. But so at midnight, they came and checked me because I was like, it didn't feel like I needed to poop. It was just like, because that's what a lot of people say, it was just like so much pressure on my tailbone. Like, it felt like she was gonna come out of my butt. So I was like, it wasn't painful because I had the epidural, but so with the epidural, I felt like it was the best epidural because I could still move my legs. I could feel every single contraction. So like, when you have an epidural, they kind of have to, they still coached me through contractions and like, oh, here it comes. I'm like, but I would tell them, I'm like, okay, here's one. And then they would see it on the monitor start to rise. At 12 o'clock, they checked me and I was at a 10. And they were like, okay, we're gonna call the doctor. She'll be here soon. And I remember being so worried that she wouldn't get there in time. But yeah, I only pushed for, I was just like, I just don't want to push for more than an hour. And it was probably like 45 minutes, maybe 30, I don't remember. So like, the practice pushes were good, not too crazy. They ended up they brought up the stirrups, but they had Hannah and my ex-husband hold my legs, which was a little, but oh well, he wanted to be there. He was there for the birth. He was like, can I look? And I was like, you've seen it before. I don't care. I was pushing it to the point where she started to crown, and Hannah was like, oh my gosh, she has red hair. And so that's when he asked if he could look. The ring of fire is so real and so painful. Even though I had an epidural, it was still so painful. I ended up having a 2nd-degree tear, which I feel like is pretty common. I know pushing was way different too than I ever like imagined. I was just like, you know, when you poop, like, I don't know, there's a certain kind of thing, but it's totally different pushing out a baby. The biggest like thing that the nurses said was like, hug your baby, curl around your baby. So like, really moving my body, compressing my stomach is what really helped me engage the muscles the right way and get her out. So yeah, it was pretty uneventful. Like, up until that point, it was a very smooth labor. My only thing was like, I do not want to be in labor for more than 12 hours. She was born at 12:55, so 5 minutes per. After she was born, so she was born, such an awesome moment. They were going to put her up on my chest, obviously, but the cord was too short, and so they could only kind of lay her on my lower stomach area. So they laid her there for just a minute. I didn't even look at her, like, so I forgot to mention this. Probably about 11 o'clock, 10 or 11, I got a really, really crappy fever. Like, I just felt like trash. I was cold, and then I was hot, and then I was just clammy. Like, it was the worst. And I wonder if it was the epidural, because like, my legs were numb. I don't know what it was, but I had a fever, and so like, I was struggling really hard. Like, pushing wiped me out just because I was feeling so crappy before. So I didn't even really look at her. I was just like, I was like moaning and just like, oh, I was super nauseous too, like super nauseous. So they laid her on my lower stomach, they cut the cord right away. I was hoping to have delayed cord clamping, but because I was doing not great and because the cord was short, they just did it. But I think a part of it too is I did hemorrhage, as my nurse said was possible. So I started hemorrhaging, and that was pretty scary, honestly. Like, it wasn't just hemorrhaging though. My placenta, I think it was short, the cord was short because my placenta got stuck. It didn't detach, and so my doctor had to physically scrape it out, which I can't even imagine not having an epidural for that, because it was painful. And like, I was just like, it felt so strange having her arm in me, like up to her elbow. Like, oh, it was weird. So I forgot this. When they broke my water, I was laying down on my back, and it just felt like this. It felt like someone poured a bucket out of me. Like, it was so much fluid. It was nasty. But the hemorrhaging felt the same way, which was, I feel like, even scarier, because I don't even know how much water, like amniotic fluid you carry, but like thinking of the feeling of the water breaking and like compared to the hemorrhaging, I was like, that is so much blood. I was really nervous. So after she was born, NICU came checked her out because she had meconium. Like, obviously my doctor could tell that from when she broke the water. The water was pretty brown. So they checked her out. They said everything was fine, and they left. They just were working on me. After my placenta was all out, they did an ultrasound to make sure they cleaned all of it out. She stitched me up just a few stitches, and they would palpate my stomach so hard just to like, I know they do it to make your uterus, help your uterus shrink down more, but I also wonder like if they did it more because I had like the problems with the placenta. I have no idea. Other women I've talked to say that they didn't really push on their stomach that much, so I'm not sure. Could just been the nurses at the hospital. Some were really nice and like barely padded. Some were like, Nita, like bread. So I don't know, they ended up giving me Zofran for nausea, and obviously more Pitocin to help with the hemorrhaging. And I think they do that for a lot of women too, just to help the uterus contract back down to size. Yeah, she was born. We enjoyed her for 6 hours. I didn't get to hold her right away because I had a fever. They didn't want my body heat like interfering with her. They did let me breastfeed, so I was so grateful for that. It was a dream. Like, she had 0 issues breastfeeding, and I was so grateful. So I was really worried about that. It was such a beautiful moment. I am so happy I got to breastfeed. It was so special. They did let me hold her for like a few minutes after I breastfed, which was really nice. But for the most part, my ex-husband and Hannah held her, which was, I mean, I'm glad they had the moment too. But I definitely, like, looking back, I wish I would have held her more. So at 7 o'clock, well, so they did the heel prick, you know, as they always do, and her CBC, so the complete blood count, came back with low neutrophils, which is a part of the white blood cell. So they had the NICU come back, observe her, and they ended up taking more blood to see if it was, I think they waited like a few hours between just to see if it would change or not after eating, and it didn't. Her level that day, like the first level, was 100 and normal was 1,000. So it was pretty alarming, just to have I don't know, just how low it was. It was really alarming. So at 7 o'clock, they moved me to the recovery room, and they took her to the NICU at the same time. So the NICU doctor on call came down and talked to us. They also had one of the pediatricians from the office, which is located at the hospital. They had that doctor come and talk to us because her pediatrician wasn't there. So we had like told him about it. He went down to the NICU, saw her. But yeah, it was really hard. going up to recovery without her, and like I had so many people there with me, but then Hannah had to go to work. Not that I wanted my ex-husband around, but he also had to go to work, and so I was just alone. I didn't have a baby, I was just alone, and it was kind of really hard. I ended up, we're gonna make this into a separate video of postpartum. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really enjoyed filming that, talking about it. And honestly, I thought it would be difficult to not like bring up the negative parts, like how my emotional being was during the labor, but it was actually really easy to just talk about her and the positive things. So I really got it worked out that way, and come back next time for a little more in-depth and the struggle of the pregnancy and birth experience with my ex-husband. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.